All right, now we're good.
How's it going, guys? What up, Vendetta family? Today is a marvelous day to host the Daily Show, especially if you're a baseball fan. Yep.
Damn
Um,
right, brother.
yep. I'm Milo, and I'm right here with Jarmani, and we have a lot to talk about, dude. I mean, goodness, there's so much baseball action going on, and there's still a lot more to be had. And what are your thoughts? How are you feeling, man? You must be feeling good.
You know what? I'm happy that baseball's back. I'm not happy about how the Red Sox started their season out. I haven't been able to watch a whole lot of the games yet, but you know what? I'm already happy enough. You know what? I got my Mookie Betts Red Sox jersey on. I know
Yep.
you like Milo's over here flexing with the World Series Dodger uni, and like
Yep.
also got the Mookie Betts. So
Yep,
if
can't
you
really
turn
see
around,
too well.
but yeah, I was able to catch a little bit like the Mets and Marlins and stuff like that. I'm just happy that baseball's back. So
Oh, yeah.
it's just a lot of good things, and I'm gonna make sure to catch a couple of the games throughout the weekend. But yeah, it's gonna be a good year. Guys are already starting hitting tanks, so it's good.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's been a few issues with the pitch clock so far. We saw that bizarre play with Jeff McNeil and Pete Alonso, and the umpire decided to give Alonso a strike, even though he had already walked to first base. It was just another debacle in this weird thing that I guess we have to get used to. But then again, I'm seeing things too. I saw during the Texas and the the Texas game where there was a mound visit and it surpassed the length of time, and they didn't call it. They didn't say anything. Where when do the rules come into play, and when are they not? Like that's my question here.
I'm waiting for somebody like it's gonna happen at a point where the rules get implemented and somebody's gonna lose their mind. Like
Yeah.
it's like on some Ben Zobrist getting struck out by Joe Nathan back in Texas all those years ago when it was like a called strike out in the opposite batter's box. Somebody's gonna just lose their minds because of the pitch clock.
Mhm.
But I would say that I don't notice it when they don't call anything. Like if that
Yeah.
makes sense, because guys, I guess, are super used to just staying in the box. Maybe like take one practice swing and then they're ready to go again. So
Yeah.
it's not super. I would say super bothersome, but I can see that still people on. It's either you love it or you hate it, and I feel it's eventually probably gonna come to a head at some point, and it's gonna probably get readdressed.
Yeah, I agree. I think I was watching that Texas game again because I had my boy Nola on the mound he looked great for the first few innings, but he got shat on later on, 9-run inning for the Rangers. But early on in that broadcast, I was watching an at bat against Nola and your guy Nathaniel Lowe, and the guy, I think I was watching the Texas broadcast, and they were saying that it's Lowe, right? It's not Lau.
I think it's low, yeah.
Yeah, Brandon Lau. That's the second baseman for the Braves. But anyways, they were saying that Lowe was having a really hard time being distracted by the pitch clock, and even throughout spring training, and it was something that would get really into his head. And I also heard something about the same thing that Max Scherzer was dealing with. It was getting into his head as well. So I think some of these players, it's going to be harder for them to adjust for sure.
I'd say the weird thing is it's funny that Max Scherzer is the one who says something like that
Yeah.
because he said that he was advocating or he has no problem. If anything, he invites the pitch clock, and now it's funny how the winds have changed. It's kind of like changing perspectives a little bit, but
He gives off boomer vibes to me. Like
old man yells at
boomer.
cloud, But I would say I'm more of a traditionalist when it comes to like not adding, trying to like baseball is supposed to be a game that's like this doesn't run on time. Like every other sport, really that's out there runs on a clock. Baseball is unique in its own way where it's not forced to have a time limit. I understand you want to make the games a little. You want to optimize the viewing experience. You don't want the games to be. They don't want a whole lot of downtime. So I understand that, but I feel it's just going to be it's growing pains right now, and eventually they're probably going to just extend the time, or they might even just get rid of the rule altogether. But it's a transition year, and like it seems like MLB was pushing for something like this to happen. So one way or another, they're going to try to make the game shorter.
Yeah, and I think I think that could happen too, where I think we talked about this, where it'll be mid-June and none of this is a factor. But at the same time, these umpires have big egos. I mean, what? A spring training game a few days back, we saw JT Realmuto get tossed for moving his glove when the umpire was trying to put the ball into his catcher's mitt. Did you see that?
I thought that was really funny.
Yeah. So despite these rules and getting used to it, I think these rules just fuel, these umpires' egos. You look at Angel Hernandez, they're going to use these there's going to be a lot more ejections just because of it, especially within the next few months before everybody gets used to it. There's going to be a lot of discrepancy. I'm seeing on Twitter already that people are just really pissed off about the pitch clock, especially.
I mean, my guy Rafi Devers was the first one to get punched out on that kind of thing. So
I saw that.
Yeah, so I mean, I wasn't able to watch the whole Red Sox game. Unfortunately, I had a lot of stuff going on. So I know it was a slugfest for sure. And 10-9 with the Sox and O's is crazy. Adley Rutschman's
you guys almost came back, actually. I mean,
yeah, that would have
down almost
been
the
great.
entire game by a lot of runs, and
I think it was like 9-3 when I checked, and then they lose 10-9. So I'm like,
yeah, so there's some fight, but that pitching needs some help for
sure.
Oh,
absolutely. I heard that Kluber got shelled or absolutely got rocked. So yep, that's not a good sign. But I mean, fingers crossed for Chris Sale on Saturday. But I would say for sure in terms of just looking at the pitch clock and just like how it's affecting guys. I feel eventually the players are going to just be more outward and say like this rule isn't doing what it's supposed to do, or it's going to show like in numbers that like it's either it is working or it's not working. Like the games have gotten shorter, but at what cost? I would say just to like kind of like end on that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, these purists, people that are conservative with baseball, people that don't want the DH, I can throw myself into that category. I think the biggest thing was getting rid of the shift. I am so happy that shift is gone. I know Trey would squabble at me for that, but I don't really care because you have to have second base at the second base position. A second baseman isn't adapted to play short right field. Finally, I think this is a rule that Manfred got right.
I mean, yeah, with the banning of the shift, or at least trying to limit the shift, like with their reasoning for it, I'm a fan of offense anyway. But I would say if they had that rule implemented even like 10 years earlier, guys like David Ortiz and Ryan Howard, and guys who like had the shift on them religiously, to like those guys, their total hit numbers throughout their careers, their total on base percent, all that stuff changes. I would say in terms of the shift being banned, I feel it allows offensive players to do a whole lot more, and it's not like there's a thing about the shift, man, that I just like. It's just like the idea of it. Like I understand it's strategy, and like the argument for people is like, oh, if you don't like hitting into the shift, hit it the other way. That's so much harder to do instead of just saying. A lot of these guys are pull hitters. They're pull happy. Yeah. It's real hard to try to get away from that style of hitting anyway, especially for these big power guys like a Joey Gallo or a Rafael Devers, just to name a couple of guys who are like that. Not everyone is going to be able to be like Mookie Betts and be able to hit it the other way and be able to adapt. And like those are just special kinds of hitters that will only be able to do that.
Yeah, straight up. I was going to make a note on that for the shift. It's learning about how to adapt, and it's learning about how to be the type of player, you look at players like Max Muncy too, who will definitely benefit from the lack of a shift. With the shift, here's the point that I really wanted to make. When you have a shift, for me, it's like if you took Aaron Donald and put him next to Jalen Ramsey. It just doesn't work. You're taking a defensive tackle and putting him back there, Yeah, and it's the same thing when you put like a third baseman in short right field. I was seeing plays last year where it almost looked like he had 4 outfielders. It just seemed like overkill, especially for Joey Gallo and people like that. Yeah, I'm glad that's gone. But anyways, so let's get into the action today. What games have stuck out to you so far, and what games are you looking forwards to?
I'm looking forward to the Angels. I know they're going up against the Athletics, but it's like could potentially be Shohei Ohtani's last opening day as an Angel, but more it's could be the last opening day that the Angels have like this core of Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, or just like the way the team looks, like their identity could be drastically different, even by like the end of the All-Star break anyway. But I would say that's just more something I'm going to keep an eye on. In terms of like super key matchups at the moment, I forgot who the Guardians are. I think the Guardians and the Mariners. I think that has the potential to be really fun, a really fun opening night. So
I'm excited for that game.
yeah, I mean, I told Julian last time I was on here, I told him I have Jose Ramirez win AL MVP. So that is just the start of that campaign for me.
Yeah. I mean, God, what a matchup. You have Shane Bieber going for the Guardians against Luis Castillo for the Mariners. That's going to be a great matchup. And then you're going to see some great bats. Jose Ramirez, Ahmed Rosario. I mean, you also, obviously, you got my guy, Andreas Jimenez. And then on the Mariners side, obviously you have J-Rod. And J-Rod, Cal Raleigh, Eugenio Suarez, and goodness gracious, up and down that lineup. That's an exciting team. Yeah,
I'm excited for what the Teoscar Hernandez can do out there in Seattle. I feel that guy's gonna have himself a nice 35 home run season over there.
Yeah. Most definitely. And Ty France too. Let's not forget about Ty France. I think he's a very good first baseman. I don't think he gets the credit that he honestly deserves. And he's a great defensive first baseman too.
He was originally on the Padres, right?
I believe so. My
goodness.
Yep. And so was Anthony Rizzo. Padres have had a lot of players. Yeah. And then tonight too, we have my boys, the Dodgers, going up against Zach Gallen and the Diamondbacks. We have Julio Urias on the hill. And I just saw the lineup that Dave Roberts penciled, and I'm very excited. We have Josh Outman, who is making his first opening day start. High hopes for this young center fielder who I don't know if he'll replicate what Bellinger did in his first few years, but he has the potential to do so. A lot of range, a lot of power, great hitter. I'm stoked to see what this kid can do at a big league level for sure.
I did see, I believe it was Topps that announced it, that they are going to have every rookie who's debuting in MLB, they're going to have a MLB debut patch on their jerseys.
Oh,
and after that, they're going to remove the patch and they're going to put it on their rookie card and then kind of have it as like a one-of-one rookie card.
Yeah,
so as the patch. So I thought that was really neat, and I feel like that's something that kind of get people like even more excited for being able to follow these guys throughout their career.
That's a great giveaway. I'm very excited to see. Yeah, I haven't collected baseball cards in a while, and that could get me back into it to some extent.
I think I have some baseball cards, but I think probably the best one. I don't even know if I know a lot of people do this as like kind of like not even a side hustle, but like as their livelihood, getting like Mickey Mantle cards and stuff worth millions and millions of dollars. But like if I were to get back into it, I'm more just doing it for like the sentimental value of it all, because I think card collecting is great. But I would say, you know what? I would say, since I talked about Jose Ramirez as my pick for AL MVP, I want to hear your pick for AL MVP. And you know what? We can just go through the entire like list of awards since the start of the season. No wrong answers.
Yeah, that's not a bad way to go. AL MVP is going to be tough. I got to go with Shohei, man. I really do. I don't think Judge is going to follow up his last season. I think Shohei is a surefire MVP every season when somebody doesn't outshine him. I think there's nothing stopping Shohei, especially it's a contract year, and he's going to be trying to really make a statement to appeal to these other teams. I mean, you saw what Judge did in his contract year last season with 62 home runs. I expect Shohei to hit 30, 40 home runs, have an OPS of 850, ERA sub 3, 10 plus wins. He's going to do it again. That's what I see.
Okay, and I can 100% get behind that theory, and I think Shohei Ohtani, whether he has like an average or down year, I think this guy's gonna get himself north of $450 million from a club somewhere. Probably
Yeah.
not the Angels because they have all their stuff going on with like ownership and all that stuff. But like I think for the sake of their franchise, they would probably have to move a godly amount of money to keep that guy. But
Yeah.
100% agree with you on that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still sticking with Jose Ramirez. I think he's been so close year after year after year. I think this is probably his best shot. I think the Guardians, for what it's worth, compared to other powerhouses in the American League, they
Mhm.
are kind of overlooked, but also playing in that weak AL Central is kind of like a two. Actually, no, maybe a three-horse race if you include Minnesota with
Yeah.
Chicago out there. But I do believe that Jose Ramirez has all the tools in the world to be labeled the best player in the American League.
I agree. I think Jose Ramirez is just a stud out there. And yeah, he hasn't received that recognition. He's every year he's hitting 30 home runs. He's has an OPS north of 900, 110, 120 runs batted in. He's like one of the last real RBI guys that I'm seeing out there. I mean, you don't see a lot of players in this day and age hitting 120, 130 runs batted in. I mean, obviously the big boys like Judge can do that, but you're seeing guys like Austin Riley who are hitting 30, 35 home runs. They're only driving in 90, 95. Even Freddie Freeman, who's the number 2 or 3 hitter in that lineup for the Dodgers, only 100 runs batted in. So, you know, if you can drive in a lot of runs, I think that's a commodity that, you don't have as much as you did, say, 10 years ago when you had guys like Ryan Howard and David Ortiz just easily driving in 130, even 140 runs. Manny Ramirez was doing that, but
Yeah,
it's
ungodly stuff.
yeah, and it's because the best hitters on these teams usually are slotted into the second hole of the lineup, and Jose Ramirez gets these opportunities to drive in a lot of runs. So even if he doesn't win MVP, he's definitely going to get an All-Star nod. He'll probably win that Silver Slugger. Yeah, maybe even the Hank Aaron Award. He's going to be top 5 in the MVP voting for sure. But I still got to go with Shohei, man. I still got to go with Shohei. It's just because what he does on the mound. That's
Yeah,
the thought process right there.
not a bad choice at all. That's the reason Vladdy Jr. didn't win the MVP 2 years ago. So, but
Yeah.
okay, let's move on. All right, Cy Young. Who's your American League Cy Young?
American League Cy Young. Let me see. That is a very, very good question. God, names that come to mind: Garrett Cole. He could do it. I like Framber Valdez. On Houston a lot. Maybe it's time for Luis Castillo to really show how well of a pitcher he is and really carry Seattle as their frontline ace. He already is, but I think he could definitely be a Cy Young candidate. Dylan Cease, of course, on the White Sox for sure. God, there's a lot of pitchers in the American League. Shane Bieber, I love Shane Bieber, man. I mean, if I had to choose one out of all those, though, I would say Shane Bieber. I think Shane Bieber has something to prove once again this season. He won the Cy Young a few years back. Was he injured last year? I think he
He was on and off.
Yeah, I think he might have missed some playing time or had a down year. I think he's going to come back strong. I think Shane Bieber is your American League Cy Young Award winner for the Guardians.
I would say, yeah, over there in Cleveland, they have like just a pitching factory. Like those guys, what keeps them relevant is the fact that obviously Jose Ramirez, but the fact that their pitching is so good for a lot of people, for a lot of names that aren't widely recognized. Like Tristan McKenzie, absolute stud. And
Yeah.
I believe they have a couple other guys over there, like Aaron Cavalli and what's the kid's name? He had like a dad who played in the majors. I forget.
Oh yeah. I'm blanking on it too.
Yeah, like I forget the kid's name, but yeah, like they just got a bunch of arms over there, and then they have Emmanuel Clase. Like their bullpen is really good as well. So
Yeah.
absolutely, Shane Bieber can absolutely. I could see having a bounce back year and being in contention. I would say just for the sake of fun, I'm going to say Shohei Ohtani.
Interesting.
I would say Shohei Ohtani because if he's having this, let's say he has this all-time great MLB season, of the greatest contract year in sports history. He wins the MVP, and he's the first person, and then wins the Cy Young right after that.
Wins 15 games, 2.8 ERA, something crazy like that.
Top 5 in strikeouts, like absolutely insane, and then gets traded halfway into the season for like the entire farm from some team, like Dodgers trade like heaven and earth to get him.
Yeah.
And so I feel for him is that I feel he has like the potential to be like a Cy Young finalist. I believe he was a finalist for the Cy Young last year. So why can't he be able to win it?
I guess my thought is that the fact that it is a contract year, so they might cut down a little bit on his pitching workload, just a tad, and he won't get the innings to qualify him for some major statistical pitching categories. But I think it's a good guess to consider the fact that Shohei could have one of these very impressive seasons. They gave the Cy Young to Corbin Burns, 2 years ago, and he only threw 168 innings. So if Shohei just pushes above that, then definitely I think he should be considered for Cy Young. But that's my fear, is that it is iffy if he'll get that pitching workload.
If that's the case, I'd probably just go with somebody like Dylan Cease, but I'll stick with Shohei as my primary. But I wouldn't be surprised if Dylan Cease could have himself. And again, we haven't seen him, like we saw him have a great his first great season last year. Now, how's he going to be going forward? That's the only thing I was iffy about in terms of picking Dylan Cease. But I'm going to stick with Shohei. Heaven forbid if he gets the innings under his belt.
Since we're on the topic of the White Sox, do you see Lucas Giolito making a return, a bounce-back season? Because some people are pessimistic about his descent.
Something I realized with Lucas Giolito, he has a good season, the bad season, and good season, the bad season. Like I believe he was really good in 2020, and then he sucked in 21, and then it's something along those lines,
Yeah,
I believe he was like a contender for like AL Cy Young one of those seasons. So I would say for him, if he can just find that sense of consistency and just not be bipolar from season to season, he can find himself being in the upper echelon of pitchers in the AL. And I feel playing in the AL Central, it's a little, I wouldn't say it's a little bit easier, but I would say that it's like probably a good place for him to try to find that consistency than being in a division like the AL East when you're seeing like teams like the Yankees and the like just crazy lineups, mainly like the Yankees, right? Like every team's lineup is pretty much competitive over there. So I would say I'll give him the benefit of the doubt in him having a bounce back season. I mean, the White Sox kind of need something like that. Like you have Dylan Cease, who's now more or less your bona fide ace. Now you need that kind of like that bat, like you need that Robin to his Batman in a sense, and just like get like a two-headed monster going and try to turn things around over there in the south side of the Chicago.
That 1-2 punch there would be excellent if they could figure it out over there. All right, so moving on, National League Cy Young. Who do you have, Jarmani?
Oh man, you know what? I would say, and I want to explain. I'm going to go with Zach Eflin. I'm going to go with Zach Eflin. And the reason I'm going with Zach Eflin is that even though I don't watch a whole lot, Milo, you know a lot more than I do living on the West Coast and being able to be up for a lot of those like West Coast games for the Diamondbacks. For me, Zach Eflin really really found a switch and flipped it last year and looked like one of the absolute best pitchers out there in the National League. I believe he was a finalist for Cy Young, no, behind Sandy.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't follow the Phillies as much as I thought, and yeah.
Wait. Am I saying the guy's name right? It's Zach Eflin, right over there? No.
Are you talking about Gallen? Zach Gallen?
Zach Gallen. Okay, yeah.
I was a little confused there for a second.
Zach Gallen. Oh my goodness.
No, you're good. I was like Eflin. Like I'm pretty
Zach
sure
Eflin, he stunk it up in spring training. That guy got himself his money over there in Tampa Bay, and he's enjoying himself. But
you threw me for a loop there. I was like, wow, Zach Eflin, man. I was
like, wow, what are you doing? So no, it's Zach Gallen. Zach Gallen got the flow, the glasses, looking like the wild thing from Major League. So, but yeah, he's commanding that Diamondbacks pitching staff, and I feel for him, I'm pretty sure he was a finalist for Cy Young last year. If
he was top 5, most definitely.
If the Diamondbacks have themselves a return to form in a sense, they have some good pieces, and they have Corbin Carroll patrolling out there in center field. Hopefully, Ketel Marte actually kind of turns it back up and tries to find himself a return to form, but I would say Zach Gallen, Zach Gallen, ZG, okay?
Yeah.
So Zach Gallen is gonna find himself. If the Diamondbacks are good, he's gonna find himself in the top 3 conversation for Cy Young, I feel.
Yeah. For me, I got to go with Logan Webb. I think this man just gets better and better every season. I think he's such an amazing pitcher. He's young. This is going to be his career year. He was top 10 in Cy Young voting last year. Every year, his numbers are better. Every year, he has more wins. Every year, he has a lower ERA, lower WHIP, lower FIP, lower ERA plus, better WAR. Well, better ERA plus, I should say. This guy has so much zip on his cutter. He lost today in New York. He took the L. But let's be real. He had only 2 mistakes. One of them was against the reigning American League MVP, Aaron Judge. And the other one was a New York Yankees cheapie to right field off the bat of Gleyber Torres. This guy struck out 12 Yankees today. And that's no small feat. He went 6 innings and struck out 12. I really like Logan Webb. I think he could really – I don't see the Giants really going anywhere this season. I hope not, honestly. Just their offense just doesn't look that good to me.
I think it's old.
But Logan Webb is going to be that outlier for the San Francisco Giants. He has my pick for the Cy Young for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel if there's going to be any few bright spots over there in San Francisco, it's going to be Logan Webb. I feel like it's just in terms of the Giants and talking about them, it's the fact that they had the potential to be so much better, but it's just the offseason just wasn't kind to them at all, really.
Yeah.
Like they got Mitch Haniger, they brought in oh my goodness, what's his name? Michael Conforto from
that's right.
So
that's a crapshoot, and that's a low risk, high reward signing. Actually, I actually like that move by San Francisco because you're going to get him for a discount. But you've seen what he did at some points in his career with the New York Mets. He was a 30 home run hitter. He could really drive the ball. So, he could complement Jock Peterson there in the outfield. They could have a solid team, but I just don't see it really transpiring like that. So anyways, before we get too off topic and all that, what are your picks for Rookie of the Year? Let's start with the American League.
Rookie of the Year, I'm gonna go with a homer pick here. I'm gonna go Tristan Casas of the Boston Red Sox. I feel for him, he has a big opportunity to be kind of solidify himself as like the first baseman of the future for the Red Sox. He's been a highly touted prospect ever since the Red Sox drafted him. So I feel for him, he has the potential to be a easy 25 home run, near pushing 100 RBI kind of guy with high on base percentage and a really high average, that kind of thing. Just a really consistent first baseman. I feel it's still going to be some getting used to American League pitching or just Major League pitching altogether. But seeing what he did in the short sample size last year, I have high hopes for him this year. And the Red Sox had a black hole at first base, so I feel it was more his job for the taking. So I'm excited to see what he does this year.
I'm going to go with Volpe on the Yankees. I think he will have a very Jeremy Pena-like season over there in New York. Although I think Jeremy Pena is overrated, I think Volpe is going to be on a playoff Yankees team. I think he's going to become a favorite over there in New York. I think he's going to show off his power. He's that young stud that everybody wants to see succeed. I like Anthony Volpe a lot over there at shortstop in the Bronx.
A lot better than the IKF.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, this guy has power. I mean, a lot of people shit on IKF, but he was a placeholder for Volpe until he was ready. It was like when the Dodgers were waiting on Seager and they brought in old man Jimmy Rollins. So, yeah,
It's weird. It's weird for those kind. Like I understand when it comes to a lot of these guys for placeholders and stuff, but I feel in hindsight, like I feel like that Donaldson trade with IKEA, I feel like that just wasn't. I wouldn't say wasn't necessary, but I feel it was real easy for them to have not taken the deal at all. Especially, you could have easily signed like a shortstop to man the position for a year without trading, But
yeah, I thought losing Gio Urshela was not very good for the Yankees. I thought, and I think a lot of Yankees fans would agree with me on that, especially going to the Minnesota Twins. I think he's a great player. I think he's a young player. So it'll be interesting to see how the Yankees use Volpe and just have their left side of the infield be Volpe and Josh Donaldson over there. So, all right, let's move on to the National League. What is your pick for the National League Rookie of the Year?
Oh man, you know what? This is a tough one.
Yeah.
It's hard because I'm trying to figure out because a lot of these guys that I've seen, like you got like Hunter Green in Cincinnati. I don't know if he's still considered a rookie. I don't know if O'Neal Cruz is still considered a rookie.
He crushed one today. He hit a bomb today.
I'm gonna be waiting for him to get a whole lot of like just splash downs over that right field seats into that river out there.
Yep.
And my goodness, I love like even over in like San Francisco and just seeing like balls being just absolutely blasted over towards McCovey Cove. Just splash downs are like my favorite kinds of home runs out there in the West Coast. But
it's a lot of fun.
Exactly. So I would say, you know what, I'm probably gonna I'll go with Corbin Carroll out there in Arizona. And the reason I say that is that the fact that he got paid a huge rookie scale extension, he has all the pressure on him to succeed now out there in Arizona. And I feel that like he's going to be able to amount to that pressure because like it seems like the kid's legit. And no team just offers you like a 7-year, $100 million deal kind of thing to not anticipate you being good. So that's
unless you're Wander Franco on the Rays.
Yeah. So, but I feel for him that he's going to be able to amount to that pressure and be able to take that in stride and be in command center field for years to come for the Diamondbacks. So I feel this is just the first step towards that.
He's a great young player. He has a lot of speed. He can hit the ball well, and he has a lot of range in the outfield. I like him too. But for me, it's got to be I have 3 that I'm really liking right now. I love Senga on the Mets. I think Senga can make a real impact, and he's conditioned. He knows how to pitch. He really lit up the I think it's Nippon. Is that how you say it? The Nippon Baseball League out in Japan. Like he was really just a stud out there in Japan. So I like Senga a lot. I also love Walker on the Cardinals. Tall man Jordan Walker, I think that's his name. Yeah, he got his first major league hit today, and he's starting for the Cardinals, and it's a dream come true. And he's only 19 or 20 years old, and
I think he just turned 21.
I think. But he's one of the youngest starters in all of baseball this year. And so I'd really like to see him do well. And then I might be, this might be the Dodger fan of me talking, but I'm really liking James Outman or Miguel Vargas. Like they have something to prove. They lit up minor league baseball last year and the year before. So, but if I were to choose one, I'm going to go with Senga. I'm going to go with Senga out there in New York.
I feel like they have no choice. I feel like he has all the opportunities in the world, especially with Verlander just going down right now. So I feel it could easily be a year for this guy to absolutely put the league on notice and be kind of like that 3-headed monster with the 2 old guys out there in New York. But I feel like New York's pitching staff is going to be absolutely amazing and just top to bottom, even without Edwin Diaz, even though that's like the closer that kind of ties it all together, which kind of sucks. Julian, I've been thinking about you, man. Feeling like he was telling me he was punching air when Diaz went down, so it has been a good time. But at least for Mets fans, they'll have that really good starting rotation to worry about coming on into the season. So I'm excited to see what he does.
Yeah, me too. Looks like we're both going with New York picks for this. Well, for me at least, it's New York picks, Yankees and Mets for the Rookie of the Year. All right. What other categories do we have? Oh, Comeback Player of the Year. I think that's one that we should definitely talk about. Who do you have coming back strong?
Oh, this, I'm trying to figure out who had like terrible years last year. So like, Yasmani Grandal, who had a really bad season.
AJ Pollock.
AJ Pollock. I mean, the thing about AJ, I feel for like I'm a big AJ Pollock guy, especially with his time in with Arizona. I feel like he was always such a really good outfielder over there for some of those really fun Diamondback teams. I feel him in Seattle has like the chance to be like get back to what he was, and even with the Dodgers, I don't know. Like I would like to believe even with his time in the Dodgers, he was pretty good. I don't know how he was last year. You could tell me about that
last year. Well, he wasn't a Dodger last year. He was a White Sox. We actually traded Kimbrel for him, but he was so good when he was healthy as a Dodger, and that was the problem. He never could stay healthy. So
he still questions left-handed pitching. So I would give him an opportunity for it. But you know what? I'm even thinking of maybe I feel pitchers have a better chance of attaining those kinds of awards. So I'm just trying to think because I'm kind of chalked up between like somebody like Giolito or even just going with Chris Sale because Chris Sale is healthy. He like could be a top 5 Cy Young Award candidate. But I kind of already had him out. I'm going to use another homer pick. I'm going Chris Sale. I'm going Chris Sale. If Chris Sale is healthy and gets back to even what he was back in 2018 when he was runner up, I strongly believe Chris Sale should have Cy Young right now over Blake Snell or even in his time with the White Sox. But absolutely, I feel Chris Sale, if he just doesn't get hurt, I feel he can. That's like his award for the taking in the American League.
Yeah, I could see Chris Sale making an impact for sure.
I need him for my team, man. Not only for my team real life, but my team in fantasy.
Well, I mentioned this before. For me, it's definitely Lucas Giolito. I think he has something to prove. I think he's so young that he could still make such an impact on the field. I think he was such a highly touted prospect that kind of got to his head a little bit. So I think he has nothing to lose in terms of being a comeback player of the year, for sure. He's my guy.
I like that pick too because, like I said before, I feel that like it's just like how can he just flip that switch where you can just find that consistency in his pitching to be that either back to being that potential number 1 and that number 2 guy next to Dylan Cease out there in Chicago. So I don't mind that pick at all. But no, but yeah, for sure. I've been like so Chris Sale and Lucas Giolito. All right.
Yeah. All right, National League. Let's go into that.
You pick. I need time to think.
Okay, so for me, this might be a homer pick as well, but I think Noah Syndergaard could bounce back in a strong way. I think he signed a manageable contract. I think he's on a team that he wants to be on, and maybe it's just a Dodger fan in me talking, but I think he could really, really come back strong. He's throwing hard. He has a lot of movement on his pitches, and he had a really strong spring training. I don't think he's going to be a Cy Young candidate or anything like that, but I think he'll post like a 3.2 ERA. He'll get 25 to 30 starts this season, throw 170 innings. I think that's like a good ballpark area for him. And if he does that, I'd consider that a win. I'd consider that a bounce back season. And right now he's the number 3 starter in the Dodgers rotation. So he's fun. I like him. I like Thor a lot,
It's just such crazy times thinking about like just the pitching staff that New York had all those years ago. You had DeGrom before he found out he was the best pitcher in baseball. You had Matt Harvey before he pretty much before his career took a downturn. and then you
Ron
had
Wheeler. Yeah.
you had Wheeler, you had what's that guy's name? I believe he's pitching for the Cardinals now.
Steven Matz.
Steven Matz.
Yeah.
Thor, like just like that 2015 World Series pitching staff is just absolutely insane.
Untouchable. I'm honestly shocked that they didn't win the World Series in 2015. I thought they had a better team than the Royals that year.
I mean, shoot, I feel like that Royals team was just like it was like a team of destiny. Like for me, I would have much rather have seen them win in 2014 with that really fun series against the Giants. But then you had Mad Bum being Mad Bum for that time. I mean, that saying Mad Bum doesn't go a long way anymore ever since he got to Arizona. But yeah, I like Syndergaard as that pick. I feel for him, like coming back from that injury a couple of years ago, I think it's just a matter of him being on the field. I didn't get the opportunity to watch him a whole lot out there in Philadelphia when he got traded from the Angels. But yeah, I feel like his stuff is so good, and the fact that he throws so hard with that sinker, with movement, with that breaking stuff, I feel absolutely he can absolutely get back to even a glimpse of what he was, especially when you had guys like Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts patrolling the defense back there for you out there in LA. So I think that's going to help him a lot. So I think that's a really, really good pick.
It's not just a homer pick.
No, I feel like there's some good merit behind it. It's not just like me saying like, oh man, I think Rafael Devers is going to be comeback player of the year, even though he had himself a really good first half of the season. But I would
good
say
to look at the history. It's good to look at what these guys have been through. I'm also looking at how these players have had their careers turned around, like last season, like Tyler Anderson, who had a career year. Also, Andrew Heaney was great when he was healthy. You're seeing better numbers out of these guys than previous seasons. And, I think, that's what holds true merit for a bounce back player of the year. And I see Noah Syndergaard working with Mark Prior and really doing that to himself,
I totally forgot that the Dodgers have Mark Prior. Like they easily could I didn't bring that up and I was already advocating for it. So like, I think you'll be fine. So for me, and it's funny, I'm going to go back to the AL. I totally forgot about Javi Baez. He has like big potential to be a comeback candidate. I totally forgot about Javi Baez. But
100%.
Okay, back to the National League. I would say, oh wait, who was I going to pick? My goodness. No, don't escape me. Damn, I just had to bring up Javier Baez. That's just perfect.
Yeah. Is he a shortstop?
No, you know what's funny? I got it. It's Christian Yelich.
Oh,
Christian Yelich. I was either going to go with him or I was going to go with somebody on the Cubs, either like Bellinger or somebody. But I'm going to go with Christian Yelich because I feel that it's just I feel it's just so weird. Like, it's funny how it seems like Cody Bellinger and Christian Yelich have been having like similar career downturns.
Yeah, they both went down. They hit this pinnacle so quick. They won MVPs, both of them. And then, phew.
It's like, yeah, like absolute superstars of the game now to being like, get this guy off my team kind of deal, So, which is crazy to think about. I believe Yelich is entering his 30s now.
Yeah.
I feel for him, it's just like it seems like it's been like a string of bad luck ever since he broke his kneecap back in 2019. He hasn't really been the same hitter at all. And I feel it's going to be a time where he's going to find that balance. I feel like he's too good of a hitter to be playing this bad. And I feel if he can just slowly find his way back up, I feel he still has a couple of really good seasons left in him. But is it going to replicate what he did in 2018, 2019? Probably not. But I would say more if he can get himself maybe up to the 20 home runs and get himself up to a decent batting average, a decent OPS, because he still has I believe he still walks a good amount. I still believe he gets on base a decent bit. So I feel for him it's just figuring out the bat skills again, just getting back to who he was, and a little bit of luck too, because sometimes I feel like more often than not he was lining out and striking out a ton as well. So I feel there's this could easily be the start of Christian Yelich getting back to what he was, even some sort of resemblance anyway, because Milwaukee's in a bad way and they need some sort of consistent offense out there. Yeah.
I was looking at some Christian Yelich stats, and last year was actually a turn for the better. And, a lot of people don't realize this, but He had like a 110 OPS plus. He had a 3 to 3.5 WAR, which is pretty remarkable. And like you said, he is walking a lot. He gets on base. Yeah, it's not the same as what he was doing, but he has value. And that's why he's a starter still to this day. I think Christian Yelich currently is a much better player than Cody Bellinger. I think Cody Bellinger is the most overrated baseball player. I will say that 100%. I was actually pretty stoked that the Dodgers didn't bring him back. I think $16 million for that guy is such overpay. The Cubs paid more money for Cody Bellinger than the Dodgers paid for JD Martinez. Come on. That's got to put things into perspective right there. Yeah, JD Martinez has no value in terms of defense. Bellinger patrols really good center field. But when you're batting 260, no, not even 260,
Like,
way lower than that.
Like
I wish you got 260. Let's go 100 points lower. If you're batting 160 or 170, he's going to be cut by the Cubs and he's going to be sitting on a mountain of cash and nobody who wants to have him play. So I think, you know, who I think is going to be a bounce back player is actually his teammate, Seiya Suzuki. I think he has something to prove over there in Chicago. I think he didn't prove it last year, but I think as he adjusts more to American culture and how things are here in America compared to Japan in terms of baseball and the way it's played, I think he's going to really find his stride over there in Chicago this season.
Yeah, I think the Cubs have kind of got themselves to a point where they're just a fun team to watch. I feel that like there's still a few pieces away. I feel they don't have that superstar on like to kind of like just solidify that lineup or solidify that rotation. And they're still trying to like just get out of the image of what they were a few years ago, you know, with Chris Bryant and Rizzo and just like the Cubs of the past decade.
Yeah, Contreras and all that.
Yeah, they still like I believe like for the most part, a lot of the guys who are on those teams aren't there anymore now. I think Ian Happ's like the last one, unless there's probably a pitcher or two that I'm not thinking of. But
there's I think Montgomery is still on that team. I might be wrong though.
Yeah, I don't know. Liam Hendricks, not Liam Hendricks. It's
Kyle Hendricks.
Kyle Hendricks. Yeah, exactly. See, I'm getting names messed up all over the place.
No, you're good, man. You're good. There's a lot of names out there.
Yeah.
I do like Nico Horner. I think he's a great infielder. I think he's going to be a staple to that Chicago team. If you can even really call what they're doing right now a rebuild, I think they're just kind of in the middle of the road. I think they could go 75. They could have 75 wins this season. They could also have 85 wins this season. I think they're very middle of the road. I don't think they'll really compete in that NL Central division, especially with the Brewers and the Cardinals. But who knows? Maybe they could squeak into the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. Like that, the biggest thing for them is just like I guess it's more of a transition year. I would say like a lot of guys like Seiya Suzuki. I feel like that's like a great pick right there to kind of have himself a bounce back here. I really like his swing, and I feel he has potential to like be able to display a lot of power, especially out there in Wrigley.
Yeah, so, it's blowing out for sure.
So even like Dansby Swanson, like they have guys over there that can play.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's like the closest thing they got to a superstar, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how it's going to be for him after coming out that big season with Atlanta, but I feel like there may be like one superstar and some other pieces away from really getting back into hey, like we're going to run the NL Central again. But I would say the Cubs are like they're kind of staying like they're locked in for a fun year.
Yeah. Even though they might not make the playoffs, I think you'll see a lot of good home runs. I think you'll see Dansby Swanson play a hell of a lot better than Javier Baez ever did over there at shortstop. I think Dansby Swanson's a much better player than Javi Baez, and I think you can agree with me on that, even though he's your comeback pick. All right, so I think next we should definitely talk about fantasy because we are facing each other head-to-head currently. Actually, I'm going to look at what the standings are as we speak because this is important.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. I am winning 36-16. You have not had any pitchers go yet.
Yeah, I believe I think it's a lot of like the West Coast games for those guys.
Yes. So big performers so far for you. Nolan Arenado has had a really great game. Very much of a slugfest game, actually. It's 10-9. 2 for 5, 3 RBIs and a double. You got 6 points out of him.
Hell yeah.
On my side, Brandon Nimmo was my best offensive performer. He went 1 for 3, 3 RBIs, double, walk, run, got 7 points out of that. How do you see the rest of the week shaping up for our two teams?
I would have to see how. I think, if anything, it's probably going to be more of who's going to get more out of what. Am I going to get more points from my offense than you're going to get from your pitching?
Sure.
Because if I'm making sense there, because then you got Juan Soto, you got Yordan Alvarez on my side. How's Chris Sale for me going to be able to pitch on Saturday? Because I know the Red Sox have a day off tomorrow. So I would say, for me, I would say it's going to probably be a back and forth week anyway, especially to be able to see how my team is going to stack up in terms of just like the pitching department anyway. Because because I feel like a lot of people can stock up on pitchers, but then the problem with that is that then not everybody, like, especially if you bulk up on starters, then like you need to make sure you have guys pretty much for like every day of the week, because and say they get shelled, then damn, now you dedicate so much to this player for one day, and then they get rocked, and then like they don't add any sort of value for that entire week pretty much. So that was like my strategy going for it. I wanted to prioritize offensive players because they are able to get out there and get a lot more like higher potential for a lot more points, even though I see like the gamble with starters. But I would say it's gonna be pretty competitive throughout. But I guess that's like the most important thing for me going into the first year fantasy, just to be competitive anyway.
Yeah. Be competitive, keep your head up, and play it smart and play it safe. It's very vital to talk about. Well, is there anything else that we should mention on today's episode of The Daily Show?
I would say, just enjoy the MLB season. The All-Star break will come fast and in a hurry. Just enjoy the season as much as you can, because like just like every other sports season, it can go by in an instant. So just take it one game at a time. You can't win the World Series on day one. So
baseball's back, baby. Let's enjoy it. Let's savor it. Even though you guys lost 10-9, there's 160
competitive.
games
They were
left.
competitive. Screw it.
Yep, exactly. You guys almost came back. You guys almost came back down by 6 runs. So may your favorite team win. May your least favorite team lose. But for whoever's watching, enjoy the games today. All right. Thank you for tuning in to this great episode, this show, The Daily Show. Like I said, that's Jarmani with me. I'm Milo, and hope you all have a wonderful day.
Be safe out there. Take care, you guys.